Welcome back everyone to another episode of All About Mechanics. Now today is the Cauldron. This is quite a tricky dungeon, quite chaotic. And I like to call this one City of Ash 3 actually, but you'll see that more as we go into the dungeon. Anyway, we are in here with one tank, one healer, one stam DPS, and one mag DPS, so that no roles are left out. Of course, you can use hybridized builds and all the rest of it. You've always been able to do that, but we do make sure that we have the traditional expected roles, and every single one of them is here. So what we're going to do in here is obviously show you all the mechanics for the bosses and the fights and the hard mode at the end. There are no secrets in here, however. Now, when you come into the first pull, standard stuff, get your tank to turn stuff away from the group, and of course make sure they aggro the big stuff. So the Clan Fears jumps, you got to block if they land on your head, and also you got to watch out for any two-handers or ranged interruptible mechanics. Be very careful with those. Clan Fears are crucial. They won't necessarily wipe you, but they will hit you very, very hard if you run away. The further away you are, the more likely they are to jump on your head. This pull here, you're introduced to a new enemy. Most of you have seen Watchers before, but this one is very much like the one in Imperial City, in the PvP areas, where it actually dives across the room. So be very careful of that and get out of its path when it moves. Failing that, I mean, just stand behind it for the most part, and it won't actually aim at you anyway. Even as the tank, it's got some rotations that you can actually stand behind when it's channeling. So it is a bit of a mobile fight, but just stay out of its way. You are going to see some more of these in the dungeon itself, but try to remember that those ones do charge at the group. So if you are quite low health, they can end up killing you pretty quickly. So be really, really careful. Next pull is very, very similar. We've got some more basic minions that you need to turn around. Watch out for two-handers and such. And of course, make sure the tank aggroes the eye straight away. Also, don't run too far away because the Clan Fears will jump on you. Now, of course, you want to pin these up and hold them as still as you possibly can. But again, that eye is going to be a pain in the arse. He is going to run around a bit. Just be aware of his charge mechanic. Also, watch out for the mages. They are dead now, of course, but they do put fire on the ground. It goes in kind of a cross formation. If it touches you, it's going to take a lot of your health. It's not necessarily going to kill you, but if you get hit by one of the Watcher or Eyeball type enemies at the same time, then, of course, you're screwed. Now, this boss is quite simple, but people do make a mess of it. It's very, very straightforward. Do not panic and follow the mechanics clearly and you will be fine. Start running around the room like a headless chicken and you're going to die very, very quickly. So the tank should hold it in the middle of the room at all times. He will fire out a heavy attack occasionally. You must block that as a tank or dodge it if it's on a DPS or a healer because it'll kill you. And also he'll turn around and fart at the tank. As you can see there are some spreading AoEs with poison on them or fart juice, whatever you want to call it. And of course you must keep out of that, otherwise it will hurt. Won't necessarily kill you outright, but it will hit very, very hard. When he spits into the air, of course, you've got these goo balls, or whatever they're called, are running around the room, and basically they're trying to get to the boss. They're not very fast, but they are trying to get to the boss. If they reach the boss, he will channel and consume them, and he will then be enraged. He will have extra damage. Each one that he absorbs will make him stronger and stronger. Also, one person will be encased in this cage. You have to break it to get them out. If you don't get them out in time, they will take high damage and almost die, and they will have to break free from it afterwards. Low health targets, of course, will die quite quickly, so just be careful. Make sure you're buffed up a bit just in case you miss that opportunity. In the meantime, the boss will occasionally fire out some interruptible mechanics, and although you can't see it at the moment, he will put his hands into the ground and spawn loads of lich crystals. You must keep moving when this happens if it's on you, as you can see there. Otherwise, you will die. So everyone will get their own circle effect underneath their feet. Just move out of it. When the next one comes up, move out again. Apart from that, it's rinse, repeat. Now, the boss will charge at the person who has aggro, and you can either block it or dodge it. But as you can see here, our tank has kept it still in the middle of the room the majority of the time. So the most thing you need to focus on here is these balls of goo, these globs. Basically, kill them before they get to the boss, then go back to the boss again. Kill them before they get to the boss, go back to the boss again, over and over and over. Just be aware of the buff and debuff timers above the boss's head. As you can see here, the cage has caught me. I didn't die, but it's risky. The debuffs on the boss's head will show his actual enrage visual. There's like a negative effect on him rather than one of yours. That has a timer on it, and every single glob that he consumes will make it stack up and up and up and up. Each one makes him hit harder, and of course it extends or restarts the duration. If you are a very new group, and if you can't manage to stay alive while he's hitting you as the tank when he's enraged, if he is, then what you can do is you can just kite him around the room, watch out for the charge, and once that big buff of his has gone away, then of course you can engage him back into the fight again. Most people won't have to do that, but it helps if you are struggling. The way to notice that he's finished is he's not glowing red anymore. One more thing to note, 25% and under, those globs, you are going to struggle to get rid of them all, get to the boss, get rid of them all, get to the boss. So you want to get rid of a few of them and then hit him and so on and so forth. If not, if you've got lots of damage, you can just go for the kill. It's up to you. But the reason for that is every single time he spawns them, once they roughly get to the middle, he'll spawn them again and again and again. It's no longer on health percentages or timed. It's literally every time they're gone, he'll make some new ones. So it's a consistent pattern once it gets to low health. Now, here are some breadcrumb mechanics. Obviously, as you can see here, we've got some lightning on the floor. Yes, I know Mistform is going away eventually for PvE, but still, if you've got Mistform at the moment during the current patch, you can just run through them. If not, block and stand in and it will get rid of it as the tank. As a DPS, you're likely to take too much damage and die, but you can sometimes get away with it. The reason these are being shown here is to teach you what's coming up next. They're going to be in another fight. Zos does that a lot in their mechanics. They teach you before you get there. Obviously, that pull was quite quick, but there was a day drop in there. Be careful. There's another one at the top here on the left. They breathe fire. They hurt. You know what Jeff does. Don't mess with him. Get him down. He is your priority target. Yes, we know about the eyeball. Of course, we've seen them already. Again, more breadcrumb mechanics teaching you what to expect. But Jeff is the new mechanic that you are going to see later on in one of the boss fights as well. If you've never seen a day drop before, they're called Jeff, but you don't want to stand in their face. Any DPS or healer that stands in Jeff's face is wrong. Don't do it. Now, we're coming up to the next boss. These lightning circles on the ground are going to be a problem. They are teaching you to stay away from them, but again, like I said a moment ago, you can walk into them while holding block or have a damage shield up. You'll take a lot of damage, but you won't necessarily die as long as you're full health. If you're not, you will die. So it's up to your group as to whether you get rid of them or just walk around them. This room is going to get really busy, but the fight is actually a lot simpler than it looks. Where the boss is right now, I'm just explaining to Bob at the moment, if he holds the boss still, keep it there, everything will be fine. But there will be a big spread in AoE, and you'll have to move the boss out of it. All you need to do is get it slightly outside the circle and hold it still again. Then when it does it again, get back out of the new circle, hold it still. You don't have to run around the room. So as you can see here, big boom, get out. He's now going to place the tank on the edge of the circle. And then next time he does it, he's going to put him back where it was the last time. Rinse, repeat for the tank. Don't change that. Nice and simple. During the fight, of course, during 3 different health percentage moments, the boss will spawn multiple adds in the room. They are very, very small. They don't have a lot of health, but they are a problem. There are going to be lots of light AoEs on the ground from the boss. There is going to be a heavy attack, and you've got to get rid of these adds. If you go for the nuke, you're going to get abundance of them. If you just focus the adds, there will be quiet moments where nothing is going on apart from you and the boss. Just bear in mind, of course, if you're too far away from the boss, he will try and chain you in. If he chains you into this big AoE or the lightning, you are going to die. That's pretty much it for the majority of the fight. There is an interrupt mechanic to stop you getting Mage's Wrath, so the tank will have to pay attention to that, if not members of the group. The boss will need to be kept roughly in the middle, and you need to watch your feet. So at 75, 50, and 25, you're going to get a big pull of adds. Your group should swap out to focus on those. The rest of the time, just hit the boss. There's no DPS race at all. There's no DPS check at all. You can take as long as you like, so relax, watch your feet, and pay very close attention to what is going on. It does look very chaotic, but honestly, I mean, we're just standing in empty space here while the boss is being held still. It looks scary. It's actually not. But the danger is if you run away. If you run away, the boss is going to chain you in, and he will pull you into all this nasty stuff. So be very, very careful. There are multiple smaller mechanics going on, of course, with the lightning being thrown. They are set at certain times and abilities, but that will be obviously in the written guide because it's hard to explain when we're here, when everything's happening so fast. But again, hold the boss still. Big circle, get out, place him still somewhere else. Big circle, get out, put him back where he was. Rinse, repeat. Kill the adds. Hit the boss, kill the adds, hit the boss. Don't stand in stupid. Now we're going to come up to some basic ad pulls. You've probably seen these enemies before if you played the game quite a bit. If not, they're quite straightforward. They are going to need to be stacked together, and you can just focus them down evenly with AoE if you want, or just single target each one. It doesn't really matter. But either way, you want to stack them up as a tank and try to put them next to this hive type thing, because these will spit out flies over and over and over until you get rid of them. but they also have a channeled effect that you just saw there that needs to be interrupted. Most people panic and run away because it's a spread in AoE. Don't do that. If you see it happening, just bash it. It's very, very simple, then it won't be a problem. They're quite weak, but they do need to be dealt with quite quickly. Otherwise, they will overwhelm you with lots and lots of flies in the room. I've not seen people have too many problems with them, but I have seen some pugs where they end up getting multiple flies and are not quite sure what to do. And they spend too much time fighting those rather than killing the source. Kill this. It's nice and simple. Interrupt that channel. Dead. Now, the rest of these pulls are very similar. You're going to have a couple of these hives per platform. I guess this counts as a platform because there's lava between each one. And there are going to be lots of melee-based adds. They do spit fire and stuff, but you can stack them up together as the tank. It's not going to get much different from here on out. So just focus your mechanics, turn everything away from the group, and kill them as and when you can. There's no DPS races here or anything. Just make sure you interrupt the hives if they start channeling. They tend to only channel if you get close, though. So just make sure that if you are ranged deliberately, you just stay back. And if you're not, when you do get close enough, you bash it. One more pull up here. We've got this very basic pull, but there are multiple enemies. You've got 4 major ones that can rip the group pretty quick, so you've got to be careful. Just bear in mind, if the tank has got aggro, it's fine. If the tank hasn't got aggro, bring the enemy to the tank. There's nothing worse than a DPS running around the room like a headless chicken, assuming that aggro is going to be deleted because you're running. Nope, you're just going to get killed in the back of the face. If the tank can't reach, bring it in. Yes, you can block and dodge, but don't run away. Now we're going to get an appearance of the last boss. There's Valkyn Pants. Excellent. He's so happy with himself. Now, this boss is tricky, but it doesn't have to be. So there is going to be a very basic mechanic to this alongside everything else, and that is that he will teleport and spawn 2 adds. Teleport, spawn 2 adds again. Just kill the adds before the boss, and all your problems will be solved. Except for at Execute, which is very, very low health, so 25% and under, he'll teleport a lot faster, so you've got more focus on the adds. Stay away from the front of the boss unless you're a tank. As you saw then, there was a cleave attack. He's got to block that. Watch out for the spew and lava because they're going to be circles of danger on the floor, and watch out for that slam. Now, when he puts his hand into the ground there, you saw him channeling, and we interrupted it. When he's doing that, if you don't interrupt it, he will consistently channel, and each player will take damage every second in the form of flame damage. It's like a pulsing effect that affects everybody. Now, there are 2 ways to deal with that. You can interrupt it, first of all, as you saw there, problem solved. Or, make sure you dodge roll this, by the way, big boom. Or you can let him channel on purpose if you've got very good heals and resistances in your group. If you can out-heal it, you will get around 30 seconds of just constant attacking the boss. He won't move for almost 30 seconds while he is channeling if you can live through it. If you can't live through it, don't even bother. Just keep doing what we're doing here. Kill the adds, hit the boss, kill the adds, hit the boss. Watch out for the spew and lava. Watch out for the heavy attack for the tank, and interrupt the channel. And in the big boom, you either block it, walk out of it, or dodge it. It's very, very simple. It does look a little chaotic once all the lava hits the ground, or the fire, but it's really not that bad. He does hit pretty hard as far as the tank is concerned, or if you're a DPS and you get caught short, but essentially it's rinse repeat throughout the fight. Like I said earlier, once it gets to low health, yes, of course, he teleports a lot faster, which can be frustrating. But again, if you can out-heal it, let him channel and carry on. If you can't out-heal it, just whack-a-mole the adds and kill that boss as and when you can. There's no rush to kill the boss. The only rush is to really kill the adds. Just bear in mind, of course, each add and boss, whoever they're targeting, they can hit them with a fireball. If they are affected with that, they'll have a debuff on them, and each one that stacks up will restart the timer and make them take more damage from all of the attacks that are going on. So watch out for those fireballs. They can be blocked and they can also be dodged as well. Now this next pull is actually the pug killer. Most of the enemies that you've seen already are pretty much all in the same place. So it's a tricky one for the tank. You got a few options here. You can basically just aggro stuff and just go from side to side to side and kill the ones that you want to kill in order. Or you can run straight down the end with aggro. Of course, you got to make sure you taunt stuff. And the further you go, obviously, the more the range stuff will follow you, and then you can back up on yourself and then stack them all in the middle. Whichever works for you is entirely up to you, of course. There's a video on my channel about how to stack enemies. It's a taunt tutorial, if you like, showing you about ranged targets. But again, how you approach this is up to you, as long as you make sure that the stress of the enemies, the aggro as such, is taken off the DPS and off the healers by the tank. Make sure you taunt the big stuff. These eyeballs, remember, are priority targets. They hit very, very hard if you get caught too much as a DPS. The tank is responsible for this stuff. You do have to be responsible for your own feet, but they need to make sure that you don't get punched by them. Now, you can also stack a couple of barriers in there, also permafrost or novas. Anything that will protect you can help take some of the edge off of that pull, because it can be quite hard. Lots of people do wipe there, especially on no death runs. That's usually the failure pull. Now, the next boss that we're going to go up against is pretty simple, but mental at the same time. This can be very chaotic. This has lots and lots of conduit type things around the room that we need to be able to blow up. And the way to do this is to pick up a synergy off the ground, kind of like a poison or conductive substance that sticks to you, and everywhere you walk, it will place it on the ground, kind of like oil. Now, if you line up a line from one of these conduits on the side and walk straight to the middle, when the room blows up, which will happen consistently, there'll be a lightning strike, that will then act as a conductor or a wire and go from one place to the other and go boom. When that happens, you will get an ad pull, which we are going to have to kill over and over and over, lots of different ones, in order to release Lyranth. Now, yes, as you can see here, you can actually get 2 at a time. I didn't take that on purpose, but you can get 2 at a time. You can actually get 3, but that's really difficult to do. There is an achievement for it. We're not going to show that today. Now, each one of these pulls, you do have priority targets. These large Zivkin guys here, if they are archers, you need to get rid of them quick. They really, really hurt the tank. They've got nasty poison injection type abilities that do have really powerful dots. But the two-handers obviously need to be focused as well by the taunts from the tank, because you don't want one of those hitting the group. If you do get heavy attacked by one of them, you're going to need to block or dodge roll as a DPS or a healer. But you have to remember that those guys are the priority targets for the majority of these pulls. The Storm Atro that you see there running at us, they will consistently spawn throughout the fight. Yes, you do need to kill them, or just let them blow up in the middle of the room. Either way, whether you kill them or leave them to their own devices, they are going to end up exploding. You don't want to get caught in that big AoE. Now, as you see here, we did actually take 2. We're not going to show 3 in the video, but we did take 2. And now we're going to get 2 pulls at once. Now, the first one is technically this guy here, the Bone Colossus. That's very important to note. You've got to get rid of him, otherwise he will extend his arms and cast fire all over the room, just like Maelstrom. As you can see there, whacking great Daedroff. Make sure you get him down. But here's the trick. He does look like he's really aggressive and hits really hard, because Daedroffs obviously breathe fire and it hurts. But in this pull, it's those archers. Those archers will kill the tank. It's a common misconception in this particular dungeon, including by myself originally before we actually did the mechanics video, that Jeff was the danger. He's not. These guys are. A tank will go from 50k health straight down to 10 in a very short period of time if you don't manage these. It's really, really risky if these two start stacking up dots on your tank, so you've got to get rid of those first. Jeff can be held to one side if you want to, but you've got to focus those archers. After then, obviously, Jeff's a priority. Each pull has a major target. So you'll have a Bone Colossus, a Daedroff. You'll even have a Titan. Yes, they're called Nigel. Just be sure that your tank is aggro on the big stuff. Make sure you watch your feet just in case something chaotic happens, especially the Bone Colossus when they extend their arms. But you got to make sure you get rid of those Zivkin guys. After then, obviously, you want to make sure you get rid of the big ones. If you can get rid of them all at once, then great. But if not, then obviously be careful. Now, of course, this is not really a DPS race either. It's great if you've got lots of damage, yes, of course, but you've got to watch your feet. And it's also nice if you've got lots and lots of AoE, because there's a lot of targets and it's really busy for the tank. But above all, survival is obviously important, because otherwise you start the whole waves again. So you can do these 1 at a time, or you can do them 2 at a time, depending on how your group can manage it. But if you want to, you can, of course, stack Novas, Permafrost, Barriers, all that good stuff, even Magma Shell from a DK, and just go full out survival and still manage this. It doesn't matter how long you take in this fight, so long as you're not dead. You can be very, very slow paced even if you want to, because it can work out all the same. There is no check for this. I know people stress about whether there's a DPS requirement here, there, and everywhere. There isn't one. Just focus your mechanics. No matter how long it takes you, this can be done. Now, this last pull, you've got a Bone Colossus, and you've got Nigel in the room. Nigel hits really hard, of course, but if you've seen him in Maelstrom Arena, you know full well that he has a heavy attack that needs to be blocked by the tank or dodged by DPS. And of course, he will put loads of fire on the ground, as well as the Colossus himself. There's a couple of pulls here where you do get Ogrims. They do need to be primaried if the archers or the Zivkin guys are dead. But in this particular pull, you can leave him till the end if you want, or you can just leave Nigel in the middle of the room somewhere with the tank and just deal with the Ogrim before him. The choice is yours. Whichever one you're struggling with the most, obviously prioritize those. But in order, again, you obviously want to get rid of the Zivkin guys, then the big one, and then the Ogrim if he's left. Failing that, you can reverse order it and get rid of the Ogrim before the major boss, but you've got to get rid of those Zivkins. The archers will wreck tanks so fast. Now, we do have a couple of ad pulls left before we get to the last boss. This is going to teach you some stuff that you need to understand when you get there. So at the moment, you've got some ground-based fire stuff. That's not hugely important, but you do want to avoid it in this first pull. But when we get to the next one, you're going to see some rocks that come out of the ground. They'll actually be placed on the ground already, but these are going to be in the last boss fight. If you get rid of them as they are, then minions will pop out of them. As you're about to see here, as soon as they blow up, we get two Scamp type enemies, and we get a Jeff as well. Obviously, as the tank, turn all that stuff away, especially Jeff. Don't flip him around on the group. Stay out of stupid, and the DPS and healers should try to stay behind him if you can. But that rock explosion revealing an enemy is incredibly important, because what you're going to be greeted with in the last boss fight is a buff or bonus or synergy that you get to take. If you take it, your screen will glow, you will have more damage towards the ads, and of course, if you hit the rocks with a light attack or heavy attack or even blow them up, whatever, they will then reveal a Flame Atronach in blue. Blue enemies are going to be helpful for you, the red stuff is not. So if they blow up by being killed by the boss or yourselves, without the synergy, a minion will pop out. That's another ad you have to deal with. If you use the synergy, then you get help instead. That is going to be very, very helpful to you, and that is exactly how you should approach the last boss fight. That one there, by the way, didn't need too much explaining. You can actually run past them or kill them. It's entirely up to you. But these are the rocks. They don't have a massive amount of health, but if you light attack them or heavy attack them with the buff that you're going to be greeted with, they will, of course, disappear. Now, the last boss fight is the same on both Vet or Vet hard mode, but hard mode does have a couple of extra mechanics. So you will have a ground-based kind of quake, lava-ish type effect that you want to stay out of. It will snare you. It hits really hard. You don't want to be anywhere near that. That's hard mode only. You'll also get lots more ads and lots more rocks coming out of the ground. So those things are an issue. And of course, the boss hits harder and has more health. Apart from that, the basic mechanics are still there. So he will have a rather nasty heavy attack that will go towards the tank, which a tank must block or dodge roll. If you do so, of course, you won't die, and he will hit the ground, and the rocks will come out from underneath you or underneath the floor. Those are what you're looking for. Those are the main mechanics, and that is the difference between passing this and not passing this. The ads will come out of the rocks. If you don't kill the ads, you're in trouble. So you want to be the one to change the result of what comes out of those. You want the friendly ads, not the dangerous ones. Anyway, we'll start the fight obviously on hard mode. Hold him still, watch out for that big cleave, because if it does affect any members of the group, each one will get a lightning circle AoE on them, and they mustn't stack up because they hit pretty hard. When he does his heavy attack and bounces on the ground, these are the rocks that you have to watch out for. As you see there, our group member managed to pick up the synergy to the right. You'll see that again in a moment, where you could then light attack the rocks to get some friendly help. Now, when he does slam the ground, you'll see that there is a rather large wall in the form of a fire wall, which goes around the room in a anti-clockwise rotation. Once that's finished, the next one will be clockwise, and so on and so forth. It'll be backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. You've got to watch out for that beam. Don't touch it. In the meantime, every single rock that gets killed by the wall or by you that isn't done via a synergy, like this, will release a bad ad, including Jeff's and I's and all sorts. So you want to make sure you get rid of them. Something else to note, by the way, if you do take the synergy, not only do your light and heavy attacks actually kill those rocks in one shot and release the ads that help you, but you also do more damage to the ads as well. You're actually buffed for about 4 or 5 seconds. It's not very long, but it's long enough to make a difference. So your main focus here is for the tank to make sure that you always turn the boss away from the group and watch out for that big cleave AoE, so at least as many people as possible get that AoE effect. Watch out for the heavy attack, of course, and make sure, as the rest of the group, you continue to pick up this synergy and hit those rocks with your lights and heavies to get the nice friendly adds out. You can see at the moment we've got so many adds helping us, it's almost impossible for the adds to actually benefit in any way whatsoever. The bad ones, I mean. Even though we've got one add in the room, it's going to get nuked by the friendlies. But it's really tricky. Your main focus should be rocks, adds, boss. Rocks, adds, boss. But you've got to get the synergy to take the benefit. If you don't, then of course you are going to get overwhelmed with adds, and that's when you really have to shift your focus and start focusing more damage on them and not the boss. The boss doesn't have a DPS check. There isn't one. You can take as long as you like. You can have 1k DPS if you like, although you're going to struggle with the adds a little bit, but it doesn't matter how much you do or don't have as long as you follow the room. Now, one more thing that is happening, of course, in fact, two more things that are happening. You do have these geysers coming out of the ground, the fire ones. If they affect you, you'll get a fire damage over time effect on you. It's very, very powerful. You don't want to get caught by it if you can help it. But if you do get caught, don't panic. Just hopefully your healer is on point, because you are going to need a lot of heal over time. And as you can see, I did mention this earlier, the big circle on the ground there that was under the tank, which looks like loads of lava on the ground or such, or broken ground full of fire underneath it. That is a really nasty snare, so you've got to be careful. Now, this is basically rinse repeat apart from execute, which does get a little bit scarier. So as you can see, obviously the walls are going backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. You just follow round in a circle the way they're going. But when it gets to lower health, that's when instead of one wall, you have multiples. It will actually split the room up into quarters. So if you do get caught on the other side of somebody else and you're not anywhere near each other, just follow it round and don't die. Now, again, to recap over the level of importance of these rocks. Very, very high. You must pick up this synergy from that ghost dude there with a big green circle around him. Light attack the rocks. Get your flame arrows to help you. So at this point in time, while you could just sit there and hit the boss and hit the adds, my main focus is to pick up that synergy, hit those rocks, get the help from the flame arrows, and get rid of the adds as quick as possible. The less adds in the room, the quieter the room is. You can literally have it so it's just you and the boss, so long as you maintain that major mechanic. It does get really overwhelming if you don't do this. So I would highly recommend that you have a little bit of practice or even just take a breather to absorb some of the stuff that's going on and maintain that focus rather than trying to YOLO at the boss. It is a very mobile fight. It does appear to be very, very scary, but it's quite straightforward if you break it up into individual pieces. Just remember, above all, and I've been over this already, the adds are always priority in this fight. You want to get the rocks to be killed by your synergy so you get the help, but even if you don't, no matter what happens, all adds in the room need to be focused before the boss. Otherwise, you are in trouble. They hit really hard. It's stupidly difficult for the tank to maintain taunts on that many adds when it gets overwhelming, especially while running around the room in a circle. Make it easier on yourself. Follow the mechanics. Yes, of course, once you're very, very advanced at this and you've had lots of practice, you won't need the guide anymore and you can ignore me and go and YOLO at the boss. But for the time being, don't do that. Practice makes perfect. You've got to lay out those mechanics and fully engage yourself in them and actually apply them properly in order to be able to then go faster. Don't try and go full speed ahead to start with if you don't understand what you're doing. So again, before we finish this overall fight, pick up the synergies, break the rocks, get the blue flame arrows out. They will help kill the adds. While you're buffed with the synergy, you do hit the adds harder, so it's really handy to leave your ultimates until you need them. And above all, of course, do not get caught by the walls. Go run in a circle, don't touch them. Yes, you can streak through them. I don't know if that's intended or not, but you can. So if you're using teleport strike or anything like that, sometimes you can get away with that if you get caught short. But if you're paying attention, you shouldn't have any problems with those anyway. Don't go too risky. Don't try and go too ham on the boss when you don't need to. And don't hang about, because if you do hang too close to that wall, the rocks will spawn underneath you. You'll try to dodge roll backwards and you'll get stuck. Apart from that, rinse, repeat. Repeat this whole process, the whole mechanics, all the way through the fight. Nothing really changes, apart from the walls becoming more. Easy peasy. Yeah, I know, easier said than done. But there are the mechanics. Hopefully that helps. Like I said, non-hard mode doesn't have the ground-based snare. It doesn't have as many adds, and it doesn't have as many rocks, so it's a lot calmer, but the mechanics are basically the same. Also, he has less health. So practice on the regular one, then step up to hard mode, and to be fair, let's face it, that's how you should do things anyway. Unless, of course, you're ballsy, in which case you go for hard mode straight away. Again, hopefully that helps. Thank you very much for watching. I hugely appreciate your support. If you are not subscribing on YouTube already, please do hit that button. It is free. And, of course, hit the notification bell so you know when the videos go live. There are 2 more mechanics dungeons coming very soon. Yes, they're finished. No, I haven't done the voiceover, but the video is done. So keep your eyes peeled for those. And, of course, if you want to help support outside the channel, there are some links in the info section for Patreon, Twitter, Facebook. You've heard the pitch before. Go check the socials tab. See you soon. Bye-bye.